Jiu-Jitsu modernized, good or bad. So Zeke, this is your segment. Do you want me to bring the video up now?
Yeah, you can go ahead and bring the video up.
All right.
So this is the video of me working with a young lady. She's only been to, I think, one, maybe two of my classes. So I'm just now working with her. And she trained previously, the Swedish young lady, she trained previously just for fun, not for competition, not to for anything like that, but just because she enjoys training in all type of facets of martial arts. For a while she had trained, with alpha male under Uriah Faber. Not saying she's like, super good or nothing like that, but just because she likes to train and stay in shape. So what I thought about in working with her, and it's prompted me to think about for quite some time is over the years to continue to stay relevant, and seeming to evolve. Jiu-jitsu always has these periods of what people deem to be evolution. So when the young kids and the young boys get a hold of it, they feel like that certain moves won't work anymore, and we need to be able to, do things a different way. And my thing is this a good thing for the activity or a bad thing? So over the next few weeks, maybe not back to back, because we do have developing news that we need to talk about and discuss. But I want to go over certain moves that I feel like that the evolution or the modernization of these moves have been good for the activity, and it's been bad in some instances. So this is just a regular guillotine that she was trying to perform and she was trying to do on me, and she had a pretty good job of being able to execute it. But I was explaining to her how it can be fought, how it can easily be fought off. And obviously we're standing, we're not inside the guard, we're not rolling, but how I can easily fight this choke off. And I talked to her about a modernization of the move or evolution of the move is to do something that I call a power guillotine, or some people call it a ninja choke now, where basically we just, instead of just having the grips here, I'm able to slide up and almost finish the choke like a rear naked choke. Now, if you watch any jiu-jitsu or particularly MMA, I won't say just jiu-jitsu, I'll say MMA, we'll notice that, not saying it's still not an effective move. You have a lot of good people like Jim Miller and a lot of good guys that still can jump, and it's their specialty. But have you ever noticed that some of these moves people are seem to be escaping more than they used to at one point in time? Like,
Mhm.
it's like, I don't think that people's defense is necessarily getting better. I just think that some of the modernizations of some of these moves has allowed people to be able to be more defensively savvy, or maybe took away some of the elements that made the move as successful. So I think that for this particular move, this is a great modernization, switching to a power guillotine or ninja choke, because of the fact that normally when you're trying to fight this choke and escape it, you can still get your hands in and fight the wrist. And we're seeing that a lot. In MMA, certain guys might have certain hairdos, maybe they're super sweaty, maybe they're bleeding. And when guys are going for this choke and they're actually trying to crank this choke, you'll start to see a person's head pop out. But the great thing about this choke and the modernization of it is that if I got this elbow pinned down nice and tight, there's nothing stopping me from just shooting this hand straight through and this other hand behind the neck. And once I lock that in, I don't have to worry about that person's head sliding out or sneaking out at all, no matter what the case is. So I
Mhm.
think that this is one of the few moves that it's a really good modernization of it. All right. You can pull the video down if you have to. I
Okay.
think that there's some moves that actually help the sport and the activity, and some that don't. And I want to give credit. And in some of these segments, I'm going to be giving credit and highlighting the ones that I think that are good or I think that are not so great. And that's just my perspective and my opinion, obviously. But I think that this is a great modernization for this move. When my elbow's already down, as it is, I'm pinching this elbow. There's nothing for me to open this hand and slide this behind the head here, and into the bicep, and this behind the head. I don't have to release the grip at all to make this transition, right? I don't have to do anything where I release and I change anything. I'm in this position here, the elbow's down, I open the hand, this goes right in the bicep, and this just goes right behind the neck. And I still can continue to apply pressure. By putting that hand behind the neck, it stops that pop out that we keep on seeing, where you're watching Joe Rogan or somebody says, oh, he's got it. Oh, no, his head's coming out. And you see the guy's
Mhm.
hair sliding up. This
Mhm.
locks the head into place, and I don't have to actually release any of the pressure. So I want you guys, when you're watching MMA, I just want you to watch the way that you were classically taught some of these moves. And then some of the ways that you're seeing this new way, the new age of people doing it. And ask yourself, is this evolution, is this modernization of this particular move helping the move and improving the success rate of the move? Or is it actually hurting the move? And I'm seeing a mixture of both. And I want to make sure that I'm spending some time going over it. The way that I teach a lot of, and it's not because I'm just old school and I'm not familiar with the newer ways of being able to execute these moves. It's because I've seen them before. I've rolled with some of these people, and I'm like, this isn't effective. It's trending though, and jiu-jitsu's like that. Karate's not like that. We don't have trending move. Well, man, this is trending. Don't doing this front kick. This way, it's a side kick. This roundhouse kick. We don't really have it like that. You know what I mean?
Got trending. I think karate has trending moves, but I think it's the setup that's trending.
There you go.
Not the app. We're still throwing the same side kick.
The application is the same.
Yeah, but now our setup to get to that side kick is now we're changing it. I'm sure, like, and not to interrupt you, Zeke. My bad, interrupt.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
But like the way I see it is, and I'm now like I'm just comparing it, and now I can see what you're saying. I can see it as like how before, right? When you guys were fighting, right? You guys would move your back foot to step to cut your angle, and then you're gonna shoot forward. Now we have some people that are just gonna hop forward. We've now we're still doing the reverse punch, but I may just hop before I go instead of taking my full step to then turn my angle. Now let me ask you, with that, if I'm watching whether it's in an MMA fight or I'm watching a jiu-jitsu super fight, right? If I'm looking at it, how can I tell whether it's good or bad? Now, what should be like the indicator if I'm watching it as the fan's perspective, right? Because if I see him still successfully pull the choke off, still successfully attack the submission, wouldn't I think as the average person it's good because they were able to still successfully do it?
This is an excellent question. I don't know how far back your jiu-jitsu goes, but if you remember Janji Ribeiro, the Ribeiro brothers, Saulo Ribeiro and his brother Janji were really prominent, people back at the turn of jiu-jitsu, at the beginning stage when it was turning and it was becoming more popularized. And when Ryan Hall had first brought out, I think it was the 50-50 guard, when he first brought this out, and he was a guy that I love, and I use the 50-50 guard even to this day. I love it. I think it's great if you know what you're doing and how to utilize, execute it. And I remember them interviewing different people back then, like when Marcelo Garcia's, the Janjis, the Salus, a lot of those guys, and they interviewed Zanji, and what he said, it was so dismissive. And I remember talking to Matisse, my instructor, about it, and he shared the same school of thought. And he says, just to paraphrase, he says, every few years, there's always this wave of these new moves that come in. He says, but the truth of the matter is, it's easy to shut down if you just use your basics and your fundamentals. And what I found out to answer your question, and I'm not joking around, because I've had some of my students who cross-trained for a while, saw some stuff online, or went to a couple other academies. They want to come back and they would want to roll. And I'm rolling with them and I'm fighting them because they keep trying to do something. And me and Brian laugh about this all the time. And he keeps trying to do something. He keeps trying to do it. And I'm fighting against something I don't even know what he's trying to do. So I just stop and let him do it. And then I just I'm not even going to defend it because at this point, I want to see what it is. I want to see what you're trying to do. Because I'm fighting something. I don't even know what I'm fighting. I don't know if it doesn't feel like I'm in danger. And then when they try to do the move, they're unsuccessful. And then they'll say, oh man, you were supposed to do that, and then I was supposed to do what? So that let me know that the success of the move was predicated on whether I played the game the way that you think that I should play the game. A lot of these jiu-jitsu moves nowadays, I'm noticing only really works well, not all. Okay, so I'm not encompassing all. A lot of them only work well if you respond or react in a like matter or fashion, right? So back to Janji's point, if I just smash my hips down, if I get cross-face control or shoulder pressure, you know what I mean? If I control the wrist, you know what I mean, or the hip or the knee a certain type of way, those are basic fundamental principles that stand the test of time. So when somebody sees somebody successful with the move, they'll probably think it worked because the person probably played the game the way that they were supposed to play it, because they know the move too. And when they're rolling and they're practicing it, they're familiar with it. So they're actually subconsciously playing into it. Me as a person who didn't even know what the moves was, I'm like, I'm just using my fundamentals, and I'm seeing him getting frustrated, and I'm not even really sure what he's trying to do. I think I know what he's trying to do, but I'm just going to use my fundamentals. So you have to be a little bit seasoned because to be able to compare, to answer your question too. I gotta see the move in his most original, authentic form, and now see the transition and the evolution of it to be able to actually compare whether or not this was more successful or this is more successful. Then I've had to see it utilized in MMA or jiu-jitsu to see if it was better as well. So it's nothing wrong with trying these things out. It's nothing wrong with playing with them. But again, when we're watching these things with our own eye and we're doing the eye test, I'm seeing some of these moves, and again, I'll go over a few of them, and some of them you when it start to go over them, you're going to say, you know what, I have noticed that. You notice that some of these moves, the success rate of them are starting to diminish substantially because of the fact that people are just not sticking to basic principles and fundamentals, and they're modernizing and changing these movements, which is taking away from the effectiveness of the moves.
Isaiah, let me ask you this. This move that this person is trying to do on you, is it something that it's nothing that you taught them? So is it something they saw on YouTube or an instructional or something like that?
So basically, it was a basic guillotine she wanted to show me. So she wanted to show me a guillotine, which was tight. It was fine. She jumped the guard. I'm not saying I would have got out, I would have popped out or anything like that. I just basically showed her a more effective way of being able to finish it. Because
Okay,
you'll see
gotcha.
when somebody's grabbing that guillotine, people do one of two things. They're either going to take the arm across and put a frame on and start
Hmm.
pushing down across the throat of the neck and then trying to pop the head out, or they're going to just fight at those wrists and work on being able to pull those wrists down to create some space and slide their head out. But by this method right here, by sliding into the bicep and locking behind the neck, it prevents that altogether. And if you see it when you're watching it in UFC or MMA, the first thing a person does when they slide their hand behind the neck is they fall down and they start trying to roll out of it because they know that by no conventional way can they no longer get out of it. They are trapped. So they try to what we call scramble out of it now because to them, there's no technical way of getting out. They're like, okay, I could fight this. Oh, I'm trapped now. So they'll drop down to the floor, hoping the person will let go or hoping that they can get ahead of the person by rolling and scrambling, and the person loses their grip and it creates a space or opening for them to get out. It is effective at times, but again, it's not a very technical way of being able to get out, which also speaks to the effectiveness of the move.
All right, cool.
Yeah. So
Any?
in case you guys, any last words? I got it for you. In case you guys want to know what we said, that whole thing was get back to the basics, man. Stop trying to run
Mhm.
before you could walk. Stop trying to look at everything on YouTube. Stop trying to be the person that wants to be, oh, I got this new flashy move, man. Make the flashy move the basics. The basics will always work.
There
That's for
you go.
You know
There
what?
you go.
The reason I asked that too, because a couple of weeks ago, in class, my coach had us. We were working on the double underhook pass from the guard, right? And I'm
Good
doing,
pass. Very good pass.
I'm doing it. I'm practicing it, and he kept correcting me, and I did not understand what it was that he kept trying to tell me because he was just saying, he's like, you leaning too far to the right, you leaning too far to the right. I'm like, man, I'm doing it just like you did it. Is what I'm saying in my head. So I asked him to show me, do it on the person I was working with, and he did it. And what I noticed, he was able to show me. He's like, you're doing it like this. I want you to do it like this. This is how your hips, you're not supposed to you lean to the side. Your hips need to stay in place as you're leaning forward and going for the pass. Now, if I had just watched something on YouTube, the YouTube wouldn't be able to correct me and I would not even know what I'm doing wrong. And that could eventually be a bad habit that I'm developing and not know. So it's important that you have somebody, a coach or an instructor or someone there to correct whatever move that you're trying to learn, especially if you're going to try and do it when you're rolling.
But we
Mm-hmm.
live in a microwave society, and the truth of the matter is, to piggyback off what Angel just said, the truth of the matter is, people are trying to find ways to skip steps, and that's what it is. That's if I'm being honest with you, all of the moves that a lot of the moves that I have in my head that I'll be covering and going over if I think about it, it's just somebody trying to skip a step. And I don't even mean a big step. I mean a small little step that can actually make all the difference in the world. And I tell my guys all the time when we're training, especially when I'm working with the Jiu-Jitsu for MMA, we'll do something and the person will try to hurry up and bypass something. And I say, you know, they'll be winning the whole round. They'll try to bypass something. And I say, okay, just so you know, you could have finished in the first round. Now the fight's going to go to the decision. I say, you could have finished it. You just lost the fight. What do you mean I lost the fight? Because you missed out on this detail that could have finished the guy now. But as you see, he just scrambled or she just scrambled out of it. Now they're back in the fight. And now you're going to look back and you're going to say, I could have finished that in the first round. And now this fight went all the way to the decision. And I won at the decision, or I lost the decision, or I got dropped, or I got clipped in the second round because they worked their way back to their feet. These taking steps out just isn't really a good approach with anything if we think about it. Would you want to take steps out if you were a chef or a cook? Or would you want to take steps out and preparing your food? You know what I mean? Like, would you want a doctor to take steps out when he's performing an operation on your knee? Like this, this microwave fast society where we're trying to skip and get to the next thing. We don't really need that. We don't need to put the knee right there. That's not important. You don't need that. You still can finish it. You can, but the bottom line is that you take some pressure away. You take some weight away. Take some stability away. You take something away. You know, and the moves that I'm covering is either this is going to improve the success rate because we're adding the move, we're adding pressure to ensure that the person can't get out, or these ones aren't working because of the fact that people are omitting these things. So to your point, Angel, you're right. The basics should be the flag stuff should be the basics. And to Eugene, you're absolutely right. I can't get that correction, you know, and instruction by being able to watch something because using the eye test, it looks like I'm doing the same thing, but I can't understand what kind of component or detail I'm missing, why I'm not being successful.
Yeah, because you can't see your body. You can't see yourself or what you're doing, you know. So you definitely need to have that second or third pair of eyes watching you and helping you out with it. So